The Locked Drawer, a Cedar Hollow Mystery, Book 1. Written by Regan Williams. Copyright 2026 by Regan Williams. All rights reserved. This authorized audiobook is produced under the direction of the author. No part of this audiobook or video may be reproduced, distributed, transmitted, or republished without prior written permission from the copyright holder, except for brief quotations used in reviews or as otherwise permitted by law. Chapter 1. The shop door hasn't closed in 3 hours. I lean against the back counter and watch another group push into Ironside. Riding leathers creak. 2 men and a woman reach for the cedar and motor oil candles like they found treasure. The sound of engines bleeds through the front window, a constant undertone during rally week. Outside, the October afternoon is perfect. Inside, controlled chaos. The candles sit in a pyramid on the front table. I've rearranged them 4 times this week, trying to find an angle that works. This one catches light and throws it back amber. Mom would have known exactly how to position them. 1 try, maybe 2. She understood angles. Oh my God, smell this one! I arrange my face into approachable retail, the one my old creative director would recognize, and say, those are local. Cedar from the ridge, beeswax base. My mother made them. Makes them. The grammar catches on something. It's like stepping into a hole I didn't see. Made. Past tense. 6 weeks since her sudden passing, and the word still doesn't fit right. The woman turns to me with the soft, careful expression people reserve for the bereaved. I can see the muscles working behind it. She buys 3. I ring her up on the ancient register. 1997. Keys stick, drawer sticks worse. I hip check it at exactly the right angle, a skill that never made it onto my LinkedIn profile, but lives in my muscle memory. How many times did Mom hip check this register while I waited for her to finish so we could lock up? The register demands exactly the right pressure applied at exactly the right angle. Muscle memory is just her, still teaching. The group leaves. The crowd keeps flowing. The door chimes. Electronic bell, slightly off tone. Diesel, my mother's 20-pound gray tabby, now apparently mine, lifts his head from the counter. He surveys the crowd with withering disdain and puts his head back down. His tail is wrapped around his body like he's holding himself together through sheer will. Every few minutes, a customer reaches toward him. He moves just far enough away to make the gesture awkward. Not hostile, just managing his space. I scratch behind his ears. He doesn't acknowledge it. Diesel is in permanent displeasure about crowds and people coming into the shop. His space. And the fact that I feed him at different times than Mom did. He's a creature of specific habit. Excuse me, is this real leather? A man in his 50s. Silver beard, Timberwolves patch, visiting MC from Oregon. He's holding one of the nicer jackets, hand-stitched by a craftsman in Ellensburg, the kind of jacket that takes 6 months and costs more than most people's car payment. Full grain, vegetable tanned, stitching's all hand done. He nods. His hands know work. Your mother had good taste. She did. He looks at me. Something shifts in his expression. You're June's girl. Not a question. Harlow, I say, extending my hand. Portland professionalism reasserting itself. I'm Harlow. Ryder Haldane, Timberwolves president. His handshake is firm, practiced. The careful calibration of someone secure in his power. I knew your mother. Good woman. Hell of a loss. Thank you. He buys the jacket without asking the price. Very generous, or very rich. He tips an imaginary hat on the way out, touches his helmet brim with 2 fingers. A gesture from another era, performed without self-consciousness. The leather creaks as he walks. The counter is mine again. Me and Diesel and the sound of engines and the smell of leather and cedar. The weight of standing in a dead woman's shoes. The crafting corner is occupied. 3 women are arranged around the scarred oak table. One is beading, methodical. 2 are stitching pieces of leather together. One older, giving corrections on grip and angle and tension. Her hands move with the kind of precision that comes from decades of the same motion. The rhythm is hypnotic. I don't know all their names yet. Mom would have known. Not just their names, but their problems and how they took their coffee. But Mom's knowing was different. She listened like someone collecting currency. The table is Mom's real legacy, not the eclectic mix of inventory. This one, scarred oak, big enough for 8, surrounded by mismatched stools. Leather tools hang on the pegboard behind, arranged like a museum display. People come in and work. While their hands are busy, they talk. Mom heard it all. The cracks in marriages, financial worries, every secret. She filed it away in her mind for later. I lean against the counter and watch them. Teaching, muscle memory, deep concentration, the collective breathing of people doing something that matters. Then someone says something low. I can't hear the words, but the rhythm changes. Stitching stops. Beating stills. Hands pause. Heads come together. The older woman glances around, her eyes flicking toward me. Then the stitching resumes, faster, hands moving like they're running away from whatever was just said. Mom stood right here for years. Same counter, same angle. She saw everything that table gave up. She heard it all, and she kept it. What did you do with it, Mom? The back door opens, and Sparrow slips in. Sarah Delacroix, 17, dyed black hair, nose ring she wears like armor. Brick Delacroix's daughter. Another club kid. Mom hired her 2 years ago. I inherited her, same as the cat. She moves like she belongs here, dropping her backpack behind the register. The apron appears from a shelf without visible thought, and she ties it on without waiting for permission. Sparrow's hand's already reaching for the candle display before I can say anything. Her movements are fluid, practiced. She knows exactly where each candle belongs, how to arrange them the way Mom did. The precision is unsettling. She's internalized my mother's aesthetic without ever discussing it. She just absorbed it through observation. You don't have to come in during rally week, I tell her. She gives me pure teenager. Your mom always had me on during the rally. Double shifts. I know where everything goes. I know what sells. She does. Better than I do. She knew a version of my mother I never did. The daily one. The working one. Okay, thank you, I say. But if you want to go enjoy it, let me know. She's already restocking. I watch her for a moment and think, she's going to be fine. Whatever happens with this shop, she learned the thing that matters, how to do something well and be present while doing it. From the back office, I hear Diesel purr. He's moved from the counter to his spot on Mom's desk, the big oak one with stuck drawers. He's planted himself over the side with the locked bottom drawer like he's keeping it safe, like something in there requires his protection. At first, I thought it was grief. Cats mourn. They get attached to people. But it's been 6 weeks, and he won't move. He hisses at anyone who gets close. The realtor nearly lost a finger. The bottom drawer, locked, no key, he guards like it's his sole responsibility. Although, when I've tried to approach it, he doesn't hiss. He just looks at me with disappointment. The longer I stand in this shop, the less sure I am this is just grief. This feels like a message I'm not equipped to read. This feels like a cat who knows exactly what's inside. The bell rings. A man steps in with the stiff walk of someone on an errand. 40-something, lean, dark hair going gray at the temples. Timberwolf's cut. The emblem stitched on the back of his cut. Black and gold on aged leather. But where Ryder moved through my shop like he owned it, this man moves as if he's trying not to be noticed. Like his presence is a problem he's apologizing for without words. His eyes dart to the window first, then to me, then to the door. Reading the room, looking for exits. "I'm looking for something for my wife," he says. His voice is rehearsed. I can hear the practice in it. The words have been organized and ordered. She likes leather, bags, accessories, anniversary coming up. Standard opening. Except his shoulders are too tense. His eyes move too frequently. His hands shake as he touches the merchandise. Not from cold, from something internal. From fear. I show him the tooled clutches, the messenger bags. Beautiful pieces, the kind that cost actual money because of the craftsmanship. I give the full marketing pitch, automatic, 19 years of this. The artisans, the techniques, the story behind each piece. My body moves through the motions, while my brain catalogs his reactions. He nods at everything, touches nothing. His eyes keep drifting to the front window, checking the street, watching for movement. The tension in his body suggests he's afraid of being watched. He's performing the act of shopping, and he's terrible at it. "These are nice," he says, about a clutch he hasn't looked at. "Your mother, she was June, right? Did she keep records?" The question lands wrong. Not, did she keep good books, or did she track inventory well? He says records like it means something specific. Like he came in here knowing exactly what he was going to ask. "Records of what?" I ask. He opens his mouth, closes it, looks at the front window. A group of riders pass, heavy throttle, the sound rattling the display case. His whole body tenses. "Never mind," he says. Quieter now, defeated. "I'm sorry about your mother." He puts the clutch down and grabs a pair of riding gloves instead, pays cash, doesn't wait for the bag. He's out the door before I can process the strangeness of the exchange. Through the front window, I watch him cross Main Street at a pace that's almost running, shoulders hunched like he's trying to disappear. I don't know his name. My mother's inventory system is meticulous, boring, unless he wasn't asking about bookkeeping at all. Probably nothing. I overthink everything. 19 years of analyzing campaigns will do that. My old boss, Margot, used to joke that I'd see a conspiracy in a grocery list. But his voice cracked on sorry. Not sorry about my mother. Sorry he'd asked. Like asking about records is dangerous. Like it gets people hurt. In the back office, Diesel is still curled on the desk. A man just walked in asking about records and walked out terrified. Chapter 2. By evening, the rally has swallowed Cedar Hollow whole. The community center parking lot is a temporary village. Vendor booths lit up, food trucks running, the whole economy of leather and chrome humming at full volume. The smell is specific. Leather and diesel exhaust and food trucks warming their grills. Funnel cakes. Elk burgers. The kind of food that tastes better when it's served in the middle of engine noise and leather cuts. I spot Karen Albrecht setting up 2 booths down. Motorcycle art prints. For some reason, she came into the shop yesterday and introduced herself. Now she is arranging the prints with careful precision. Each movement is purposeful. A level in her hands, checking angles. A tape measure looped around her neck. Not like an artist iterating on a design. Like someone executing a plan. Good sightlines from that position. She can see the parking lot, the community center entrance, the highway access route, everything. A woman setting up a vendor booth doesn't usually care about sightlines, but she positions herself with tactical awareness, like someone trained in situational awareness. I notice because I've been trained to notice. My job in the old life was to read what people aren't saying, to understand positioning, to see that every choice has a reason, strategic or personal. The difference tells you everything. I file it away. By 7 o'clock, Main Street is a wall of chrome and leather and noise you can feel in your bones. Vendor booths, custom bikes, leather goods, food trucks, strings of lights crisscross overhead. The mountains behind town have gone gold with October sun. Photographer's light. The light that makes a small town look like the whole world. It's beautiful. I hate that it's beautiful. I hate that I'm standing here thinking about light quality while engines are rumbling and the whole town vibrates like a tuning fork that's been struck exactly right. I should want to return to my old life, to Portland. Sparrow's closing up the shop. She waved me off with a quiet confidence that suggested she had this handled. And she probably has. She was born to this work. I'm standing outside the Switchback Diner with a piping hot funnel cake, watching the crowd. The dough is hot enough to sting my lips, which gives me something to focus on besides the noise. Dolly Parsons appears at my elbow. She's constitutionally incapable of letting a human being stand alone longer than 45 seconds. When she sees loneliness, she moves. You're brooding, she says. I'm observing. You're brooding. You look like your father. Same crease. She taps the space between her eyebrows. Axel used to stand right there during every rally. Said he was keeping watch. Your mother said he was being antisocial. I smile. It's the kind of thing Mom would say. Fond exasperation at the man she loved who made things complicated. Maybe both, I say. Dolly is 60-something, built like a fire hydrant, with the energy of someone who's never stopped moving. She loved my mother, the kind of love that was loud and present. She's been waiting for me to come home since the day I left 18 years ago, and she's not remotely subtle about it. You have dinner? I gesture to the nearly decimated funnel cake in my hand. That's not dinner. Come inside. The club booth is open. The club booth. The big corner one with the cracked red vinyl. It's the Iron Cedar's unofficial territory. The president's spot faces the door. I don't want to sit there. But Dolly has already turned around, which means the negotiation is over. Fighting Dolly is like fighting gravity. I reluctantly trash the remaining funnel cake as I follow her through the door. Inside, the switchback is wall to wall. The noise is layers, conversations, laughter, the constant rumble of engines vibrating through the floor. The smell makes of coffee and bacon grease and leather, the smell of my childhood. Dolly deposits me at the club booth with a plate of pot roast that materialized so fast it must have been plated before I agreed to eat. Stay, she says, like I'm a dog that might bolt. I eat. The pot roast is obscene, tender enough that the fork cuts through without resistance. The meat falls apart on the tongue. The vegetables are seasoned, like Dolly knows I don't cook for myself. The biscuit is warm enough that butter melts into the cracks. Everything tastes like someone who cares made it. This is Dolly's signature, food as a form of attention. I'm not alone in the booth. I didn't notice him at first because he's the kind of man who occupies space without disturbing it. Far end, back to the wall, positioned where he can see the door and the window and the counter all at once. White hair, close cropped. Weathered hands. He's got a small leather notebook open on the table beside a coffee mug and 3 pens lined up in a row. Red, blue, green. The notebook is covered in notations so dense they look like sheet music. He's tracing a line with a pencil, slow and precise, the way a surgeon follows a vein. Compass, Dolly says, setting down a second plate she's materialized from thin air. Tell Harlow who you are, before she thinks I sat her with a stranger. He looks up. His eyes are sharp and pale, the blue of a rained-on sky. Something shifts in his expression when he sees me. Not surprise. Recognition. Hank Morrison, he says. Road captain.
Your father used to sit right where you're sitting and tell me my ride routes were too conservative. He taps the notebook with the pencil. He wanted more switchbacks, more elevation. I told him elevation is earned, not rushed. Were you right? I was right when it mattered. He takes a sip of his coffee. He was right the rest of the time. Don't tell anyone I said that. He goes back to his notebook. Conversation over. Not rude, just finished. Hank Morrison is a man who says what needs saying and stops. I eat my pot roast and steal glances at the map he's working on. Every road in the Cascades from the look of it. Every switchback, every shoulder, every spot where the elevation changes and the view opens up. 30 years of riding distilled into colored ink and pencil marks. The kind of knowledge that only exists inside one person's head. The booth fills around me in stages. T-Bone slides in across from me. Tommy Marchand, 28, the Iron Cedar's youngest patched member, and immediately starts talking about a custom exhaust system at a volume that suggests he's competing with the engines outside. And I'm telling you, the guy wanted $1,200 for it, but the welds were garbage. And I said, T-Bone? Yeah? Breathe. He grins, the kind of grin that makes you forgive him for everything. He adores me because my father was his childhood hero. How's the shop? He asks, his voice actually quiet now. Busy. Rally's good for business. Your mom would be stoked. She loved Rally Week. She'd be out walking around and just... He mimes talking with his hands, gestures spreading out like words or objects he can handle. She knew everything about everyone. Your mom was like the CIA of Cedar Hollow. He says it like a joke. I don't laugh. I'm thinking about a nervous man who asked about records. J. Brick Delacroix, the club's sergeant-at-arms, settles into the corner. Sparrow's dad, built like a tank, moves like a wall. Sparrow says you tried to send her home, he says. Not a question, not an accusation, just a statement of fact, delivered with the certainty of a man who knows his own power. She insisted. I know. She gets that from my ex-wife. There's no anger in it, just the resigned acknowledgement of a man who understands his daughter, who doesn't fight her on things that matter. Good on you for letting her work. She's saving up for a car. Pete Numbers Quan, the Iron Cedar's treasurer, arrives with a spreadsheet he's already arguing to the room about. The rally logistics, vendor bookings, cash flow projections. He's got the specific anxiety of someone who understands that details matter, and everybody else has stopped paying attention. He sits and starts making notes, and looks like he's about to have a stroke. His pen is shaking. His jaw is clenched tight. He keeps checking his phone, then putting it face down when anyone looks too closely. When T-Bone asks him how the books look, Numbers practically bites his head off. Fine. Everything's fine. The intensity is odd. The anxiety is outsized for rally logistics. Numbers is either terrified of something or he's covering something. And the distinction matters. Neil Carver comes in for coffee before heading back to volunteer security shifts. He's wearing a polo shirt with a community center logo. He waves at the booth, then at me specifically, with the casual warmth of someone who knows everyone's business and stays helpful about it. Harlow, good to see ya, he says as he passes. Your mom would be proud the way you're keeping the shop open. I smile at him. He seems nice. He's always seemed nice. Soft eyes, the careful way of someone who's learned to be guarded about showing too much of himself. Or maybe he's just nice. Then Caleb Ghost Voss walks in. I know he's here before I see him. The club's vice president shifts the booth's energy. T-Bone sits up, Brick nods toward the door, the air pressure changes, and there he is, crossing the diner like the crowd is something that moves around him. He's broader than I remember, taller, more solid, the kind of solid that comes from using your body for work. The rawness is gone. In its place, something steady, controlled. Dark hair, cut close on the sides, longer on top, close trimmed beard. Tattoo sleeve disappearing under his cut. Club ink mixed with things I don't recognize. Cedars, a river, mountains. He moves like a man who knows exactly where he belongs. Every woman in this diner tracks his movement. He slides into the booth next to T-Bone, across from me. For 1 second, his expression shifts. Something raw underneath breaks the surface. And then the control snaps back. He's practiced at closing doors. His face rearranges itself into something neutral, professional. Harlow. Just my name. Not Little Reed the way everyone else says it. Just Harlow. In a voice that's deeper than it used to be. The voice of someone who's learned control. The voice of someone who knows what he wants and has learned the patience to wait for it. Ghost. A beat. 2. The diner noise fills the space between us. "How's the shop?" he asks. Everyone keeps asking me that. Because everyone wants to know if you're selling. The directness catches me off guard. Everyone else has been dancing around it. Ghost skips the dance. He moves straight to the thing that matters. "I haven't decided," I say. "You've been here 6 weeks. Is there a deadline I'm not aware of?" He lets the silence sit. He's got nothing but time. "The rally sponsorship contracts for next year go out in January," he says. "If Ironside's going to be part of it, someone needs to sign. Before then, ideally." Someone. You. Unless you've got a buyer lined up. I set down my fork carefully. He's right. The sponsorship increases our exposure. The rally accounts for about 30% of Ironside's annual revenue. I've seen the books. Mom kept meticulous records of everything. The word catches on something in my mind and sticks there. Is this you asking me to stay, or you asking me to make a business decision? I ask. His eyes hold mine. Steady. It's me telling you the timeline. What you do with it is your call. I pick up my fork. He's right. The timeline is real. The deadline is real. I'll think about it, I say. You think too much. You don't know me well enough to say that. He holds my eyes. T-Bone is talking again. Brick is eating pie with focused intensity. The diner noise continues around us, the sound of a small town maintaining itself through proximity and coffee. "Maybe not," Ghost says. Then he turns to T-Bone and the conversation moves on. I'm left with pot roast and a heartbeat I can feel in my fingertips, and the clear understanding that 19 years hasn't changed the way Caleb Ghost Voss makes me feel alive. Chapter 3. I find the body. Not directly, but I'm the one who notices, which in Cedar Hollow apparently counts for the whole thing. I'll be the woman who was there first, the woman who saw. Not the woman who used to work as a marketing executive in Portland, or the woman who came back to run her mother's shop, but the woman who found a dead man. Saturday morning, second day of the rally. I'm on a coffee run. The apartment upstairs has a kettle, but no espresso machine. I'm walking to Ridgeline Coffee, cutting through the field behind the community center because it's faster, and because the shop is starting to feel like a fishbowl. The vendor booths are being set up for the day. A few early risers are checking their displays, sipping from travel mugs, probably wondering if they'll move any inventory on a Saturday morning. The field behind the community center is overflow camping. Maybe 20 tents, a few tarps, 2 guys cooking eggs on a camp stove that smells like bacon and coffee and wood smoke. The smell of people who've traveled to be here, who are making the best of temporary accommodations. Normal. The weekend is still in its optimistic phase. I see the boots first. Brown leather, scuffed at the toes, pointing up past the corner of the community center where the dumpsters sit, where the smell gets thick with rot and beer bottles and things decomposing. Someone's sleeping it off. Not unusual during rally weekend. Not unusual at all. Men crash in the dumpster area during rallies all the time. It's hidden, it's protected, and nobody asks questions about bodies in the dumpster area during rally week. But my father always said that a man who falls asleep keeps his knees bent. His body stays loose and ready. The body prepares for waking, even in sleep. These boots are straight. Perfectly straight. Toes pointing up at the sky like they're signaling something. The absolute stillness of them, the perfect parallelism, makes something in my chest go cold. This is not the position of a sleeping man. This is not a body at rest. This is the position of someone who's not moving. The position of someone who's stopped. I walk around the corner of the building, and the nervous shopper from yesterday is lying on his back in the gravel beside the dumpster. Very, very dead. His dark hair is matted with blood. His Timberwolves cut is soaked with it. The amount of it suggests he bled out slowly, methodically. The amount suggests this wasn't quick. I know it's him, because I spent 10 minutes watching him pretend to shop in my store yesterday. Dark hair, lean build, Timberwolves patch on his cut, dark with blood. His left arm is flung out at an angle that doesn't look natural. Blood on his head, matted into his hair. The gravel around him is disturbed, kicked, scattered. The pattern is wrong for a stumbling fall. This is controlled, deliberate. The work of someone who knew what they were doing, who wasn't reacting, who was executing. I don't scream. What comes out instead is steady, quiet. I stand very still, and I think, he never told me what he meant about the records. Then I pull out my phone, and I call 911. I give the location, I give the description. I do not mention that a nervous man came into my shop yesterday asking about my mother's records. I report only what I see. The next 2 hours blur. Flashing lights, yellow tape, and the particular chaos that happens when a small-town police force meets an event they are not remotely staffed for. I stand on the other side of the tape, from where a man is dead. He's connected to my mother, and I'm the only one who knows it. Sheriff Boyd Haney is 63, round and coasting toward retirement with the determination of a man counting down to a finish line. He arrives looking like a man whose Saturday just got significantly worse. His plan? Retire, move to Arizona, play golf, forget about Cedar Hollow, just became complicated. Deputy Rosa Navarro is already there, sharp-jawed, notepad out. She takes my statement. Calm, precise, questions in the right order. She understands that procedure exists for a reason. You know the deceased? He came into my shop yesterday. I don't know his name. Did he say anything notable? I hesitate. The question about my mother's records sits on my tongue, strange and heavy. It feels important and secret, and not my information to share. But I share it anyway. He asked about my mother. He knew she was June Reed. He asked if she kept records. Deputy Navarro's pen pauses. I watch her catalog this. File it, process it, decide what it means. Her eyes are sharp. Then she files it under probably nothing and moves on. But I see her make the notation. The crowd gathers. In a town of 3,000, a murder behind the community center brings everyone out. People cluster at the yellow tape. Dolly is there, arms crossed, face grim. She's wearing a diner apron still. She left work. The fact that she left work says everything. Bex from Ridgeline is filming on her phone. Deputy Navarro shuts it down with a look. That particular look that says, put the phone down and don't test me. Bex puts it down. The iron cedars are there, a wall of leather and crossed arms, standing slightly apart from the crowd, projecting the suggestion that they could handle this themselves. Ghost is at the front. He's talking to Wade Wrench Sullivan, the club president.
my father's old writing partner. Wrench's face is stone. The face of a club leader calculating the response, the leverage, the implications. The sheriff addresses the crowd, saying anyone with information should come forward.
Ryder Haldane, the Timberwolves president, the man who bought the jacket, pushes forward and starts talking to the sheriff in a voice too low for me to hear. His face is red. His hands are clenched. He looks like a man who's found out his friend is dead and is trying very hard not to respond with violence. His jaw is locked so tight, I can see the muscles working at his temples. I watch the scene like a woman looking for patterns. 3 things catch. 1, the gravel. It's disturbed around his body in a way that suggests controlled force, not drunk fight chaos. Method. One person knowing what they were doing, practicing technique instead of acting in rage. 2, his right hand, closed around something. From here, I can't see what, but his fingers are curled around something intentional. He was holding something when he died. Whatever it is, his brain said, hold on to this. This matters, even as consciousness left him. 3, his face. Its narrow lines of concentration. Expressionless, but fully focused. Even in Toughtown, the place of provinces for career politicians to end up, this was a winning face. This was a winning game. 3, Karen Albrecht. At the edge of the crowd, coffee in hand, wearing an expression of polite shock that sits wrong. Not like a liar, more like someone who prepped the face in a mirror and didn't quite nail the landing. Real shock comes with a beat of delay. Karen's shock is all surface. Karen's shock is performed. I file her away. 19 years in marketing taught me to read rooms, to catalog reactions, to note what doesn't fit. People lie with words, but the body is honest. The body remembers what the mind forgets. My mother heard everything from behind a crafting table. My father saw everything from the back of a motorcycle. I'm standing behind yellow tape, unable to stop wondering why Karen isn't scared. Chapter 4. The Switchback Diner becomes the unofficial command center. By noon, the rally hasn't stopped. It can't, economically, but it's muted. The burnout competition goes on, but the energy is different. The crowd watching is subdued. Everyone is thinking about the body. I'm in the club booth, which I seem to have inherited, eating a grilled cheese that Dolly made without being asked. She knows me well enough to know I won't eat if left to my devices. She slides into the seat across from me and creates a private space between us, despite the crowd. His name was Colt Braddock, goes by Sketch. Timberwolves, out of Bend. Patched member, 15 years. He's been coming to the rally for at least 8. He always ordered the same thing. Club sandwich, extra pickles, black coffee. No substitutions. Same order, same booth, same time. This is Dolly's gift. Everyone is defined by what they eat and when. She can tell you more about a person from their breakfast habits than from their resume. We are made of routine and ritual, and the routine and ritual are the truest parts of us. Did you know him well? I ask. Well enough to know he was decent, with a temper and a divorce. Not well enough to know why someone would bash his head in behind my community center. She says this last part with genuine offense. She has standards about these things. He seemed okay. Quiet. Kept to himself mostly. He came into the shop yesterday, I say. Buying? Pretending to. He asked me something strange. Dolly's eyebrows go up. This is her natural habitat. Strange how? He asked if my mother kept records. A pause. Dolly's face does something complicated. A flicker of something I can't read. And then it's gone. She recovers smoothly. She's good at this. At hiding what she's thinking. At controlling her face while processing underneath. But I caught it. I caught the moment when she understood something.
when she recognized a pattern. June kept records of everything, she says carefully. You know that. She tracked her inventory like the Pentagon tracks missiles. That's not what he meant. How do you know? Because of the way he said it, the way his hands shook, the way he looked at the door like someone was waiting. He wasn't asking about invoices.
Dolly studies me, sharp and warm eyes, like someone who's been trained to look at people and see what's really there. Your mother was a sharp woman, she says. She paid attention to things other people didn't notice. Like what? Like everything. She leans on the table. Harlow, your mother watched people the way some folks watch birds. She saw patterns. She saw the ones who didn't fit. What do you mean? Dolly's expression flickers. She's weighing the cost of honesty, calculating what she can tell me. I'm getting you pie, she says, before I can push further. I'm alone in the booth with the growing certainty that Dolly just told me something important. Neil Carver appears at my table. How are you holding up? He asks warmly. He's got that soft quality of someone whose niceness might be genuine or might be perfect performance. He sits across from me, uninvited, but friendly. I'm fine, just processing. Of course, finding a body like that, it's traumatic. He leans in slightly. You know, I hike these hills all the time, know every road and trail. If you ever need someone to show you around, help you get familiar with the area again, I'm happy to. The offer is warm, but something in the delivery is slightly off. Unsolicited helpfulness is either genuine or positioning. My marketing brain would say that. He stays for 5 more minutes, asking kind questions about the shop, my plans, but he's listening carefully. He's mapping information the same way he maps trails. By the time he leaves, it feels more like a police interview. Dolly returns with the pie. Blackberry. From the river bushes where they grow wild and tart. Mom's favorite. She sits across from me, elbows on the table, creating a private space between us, despite the crowd. The diner noise continues around us. Laughter, clink of silverware, the hiss of the espresso machine, the low roar of conversation. But in this small corner of the club booth, we exist in a cone of relative silence. Harlow, she says quietly, when you're ready to know things, you know where to find me. The implication is clear. I know more than I'm saying. I've always known more, and I've been waiting for you to be ready to hear it. Dolly, I start. Not now, she says, patting my hand. Not here, but soon. She's gone before I can ask what she means, moving back through the diner with the efficiency of someone who's been doing this job for 35 years. She knows who needs coffee. She knows who's getting the bill soon. She knows who's going to sit here for another hour and who's got somewhere to be. She reads the room like my mother read the crafting table, like my father read the motorcycles. Like observation is a skill some people develop and some people don't. The door opens and a hush falls over the diner. Ryder Haldane walks in, and his face isn't friendly. Red, tight, the expression of a man who's been yelling and stopped only because he ran out of room or audience or energy to keep going. Behind him, another Timberwolf keeps a careful distance. Emotional backup, physical space, a show of solidarity with his president while also maintaining plausible deniability that they're together. Ryder's eyes land on me across the diner. Recognition. Purpose. He strides over with the focus of a man who's decided something and won't be deterred. You're the one who found him, he says. Not a question. Statement of fact. Yes. He stands next to the table, breathing hard, his knuckles white from clenching his fists. Red eyes, locked jaw. The expression of a man channeling grief into something closer to rage. The expression of a man whose composure is held together by the smallest thread. Sketch was a good man, he says. His voice is shaking. Shaking with emotion. Shaking with the effort of containing what he's feeling. 6 years sober. 6 years clean. 6 years of making choices that mattered. Rebuilding his life. And they're saying bar fight? Drunk and stupid? Bullshit. Someone did this to him deliberately. And your sheriff is out there calling it an altercation. Like my brother wandered into the wrong fist. Like he was careless. Like he deserved it. I'm sorry, I say. Because what else is there to say? I don't want sorry. I want to know if he came to see you yesterday. Something stills inside me. Same cut. Same club. I'd already made that connection. Both Timberwolves, both in my shop in the same week. But this is different. Ryder didn't just know Sketch stopped by. He's the reason Sketch came at all. You sent him, I say. I told him June's daughter was running the place. Go say hello, pay respects, maybe catch up if you were around. His voice cracks. For a moment, his carefully constructed anger fractures, and I see the grief underneath it. Raw, fresh, enormous. The grief of a man who sent his brother into a situation, and now that brother is dead. I sent him in there. Now he's dead. He drops into the booth as the anger drains, leaving grief behind. He asked about records, I say quietly. My mother's records. What did he mean? Ryder stares at me, wet eyes, very focused now. The urgent need to explain. The urgent need to transfer some of this weight to someone else. Sketch was looking into something. Months of it. He wouldn't tell me everything. Said it was safer. But he said your mother had been tracking things. People. Operations. He said if anyone in Cedar Hollow knew the truth about what was happening, it was June. The truth about what? Ryder's mouth opens, closes. His eyes go to the door. He's suddenly wary, like Sketch was yesterday. Like the walls have ears and someone is listening to this conversation. Like the fact that he's here talking to me is putting both of us in danger. Ask the Iron Cedars, he says, low. His voice drops so far I have to lean forward to hear. Ask them what they know about the highway. Ask them what they've been protecting. Be careful who you trust. He's out of the booth and gone so fast it's almost running, afraid of being seen with me. Ask about the highway. Back at the shop, I find Sparrow behind the register, scrolling her phone with the focused efficiency of someone who grew up with a screen in her hand. She looks up when I walk in. You okay? She asks. I need help with something. How good are you at finding people online? She gives me a look that's I'm 17 and sets her phone on the counter. Who? Colt Braddock. His road name is Sketch. The man who died. Timberwolves MC, out of Bend. Sparrow's thumbs are already moving. I watch her work. Instagram, Facebook, public record sites, a writer forum I've never heard of. She cross-references without being asked. She finds angles I wouldn't have thought to check. 19 years in marketing, and this kid is faster than my entire Portland research team. Okay, she says after 15 minutes. Sketch Braddock, 51, Bend, Oregon. Timberwolves MC. His Facebook is mostly bikes and sunsets. But, she tilts her phone, he's in the comments on this Central Oregon Writers Forum. A lot. And he's asking questions about the highway corridor. Property sales, shell companies buying up land along Route 20. Look at the dates. He's been posting about this for 2 years. My chest tightens. Sketch wasn't asking random questions. He was investigating something specific,
and he was doing it publicly enough to leave a trail. Sparrow keeps scrolling. There's more. He tagged a couple of county records links, property transfers, business filings, the kind of stuff that's public but nobody actually looks at. And this is weird. Your mom's name is in one of the threads. What? Someone in the forum, not Sketch, a different user, mentions a shop owner in Cedar Hollow who's been tracking the same patterns. No name, but the description is pretty specific. My mother. Online. Mentioned by people she never met, in forums she probably never read. Her careful watching had rippled further than she knew. Can you save all of that? I ask.
Already screenshotted. Sparrow sets her phone down. You know, you should really let me set up an Instagram for the shop. Your mom never wanted one, but if you're going to keep this place going, you need to be where people actually are. Let me think about it. She shrugs. Just saying, I'm good at it. I could build you something that actually looks professional. I file that away. Not for now, but for later. For the version of this story where I stay. My phone buzzes. The realtor. Any updates on the listing timeline? Got a couple interested. The timeline I've been avoiding for 6 weeks. The one that assumed I would sell the shop and get back to my real life and stop pretending that Cedar Hollow was still home. 6 weeks ago, I would have answered immediately. Yes, let's move forward. Timeline, papers, exit strategy. Get back to Portland, my job, and the life I spent 18 years building as an escape from painful memories of this place. But Sketch asked about records, and now he's dead. Ryder told me to ask about the highway, and then couldn't get away from me fast enough. And my mother was watching for something. Something is hiding in Cedar Hollow that's big enough to kill for. I look at the realtor's message on my phone, and then at the shop and community my mother built. I put the phone down without answering, thinking about what my mother was listening for all those years, thinking about what she left for me, thinking about what comes next. Chapter 5. Later that night, as I'm closing out the register, the roar of a motorcycle comes to a dead stop right outside the shop door. I look up to see Ghost has pulled his bike to the curb and swung off it with the kind of unhurried authority that makes me pause. The street lamps illuminate his face. He's angry, past angry. He's in that controlled place where anger has been compressed into something denser, harder, more dangerous. His jaw is set, his eyes are dark. He walks up to the door with his helmet under one arm, the other flexing at his side. I've seen this exact posture before, on my father, when he was about to tell someone something they didn't want to hear, when he was about to enforce a boundary. Harlow. The command is clear. Open the door. We stare at each other for several long seconds before I slowly walk toward the locked door. I flick the lock and pull the door open. You talk to Ryder Haldane, he says. Not a question. Which means someone saw. Which means 90 seconds pass between an event occurring and the entire town knowing about it. The gossip travels faster than sound. He talked to me, I correct. He saw me at the diner. What did he say? Why do you care? Ghost takes a breath. He's holding it together by the smallest thread. Because Ryder Haldane's guy just got murdered at our rally, and Ryder's not a man who handles grief quietly. Whatever he said to you, he didn't ask me to do anything. He told you to ask questions. I can see it on your face. I cross my arms. The rally noise is a distant wall of sound. We are two people in a cone of silence, close enough that I can smell him. Leather and soap, and the particular scent of someone who works with his hands. He told me to ask the club what they know about the highway, I say. Something shifts behind Joe's eyes, just for a second, but I caught it. You need to let the sheriff handle this, he says.
sheriff thinks it was a bar fight. Maybe it was. Ryder told me Sketch was investigating something connected to this town, to the highway. And then Sketch came into my shop and asked about my mother's records, Ghost. Not her inventory, not her books, her records. And now he's dead.
My voice is rising. I keep it at a pitch that's meant to be quiet, but comes out fierce. Something bigger is happening. Something my mother knew about, and I'm tired of not knowing. Ghost is quiet. He's thinking something through, processing something. His whole body radiates the strain of keeping information contained. The strain of knowing something and not being able to say it. The strain of wanting to protect me and also wanting to be honest. I respected your father, he says. The shift catches me off guard. I know you did. Axel was the reason I stayed in Cedar Hollow. He was the reason I prospected with the Iron Cedars instead of drifting to some other club. He was... Caleb stops. Whatever he's about to say costs him. I can see the price being paid in real time. Axel saw things. He noticed things other people didn't, and it made him careful, and it made him smart, but it didn't save him. The words land like stones dropped into still water. Each one sends a ripple outward. I can feel them in my chest, in the place where I've been carrying questions about my father's death for 20 years without asking them out loud. Knowing, but not admitting it was one reason I ran from my life here in Cedar Hollow. What are you saying? I'm saying your father asked questions about the highway 20 years ago. And I'm saying you should think very carefully before you do the same thing. That's not an answer. That's a warning. Yeah. His voice drops into something heavier than sound. It is. We stare at each other. The rally noise rises and falls like breathing. The streetlights have settled into their evening brightness. The light catches the planes of his face and makes him look like a photograph, like a memory from the past. Down, girl. I'm not my father, I say. No, you're worse. You're your mother. The corner of his mouth twitches. Not a smile, but the ghost of one. She didn't stop either. Stop what? He shakes his head. Stay out of it, Harlow. Go to hell, Ghost. He looks at me for one long beat. Something raw breaks the surface. Wanting mixed with protection, mixed with the weight of keeping secrets that aren't his to tell. 20 years of carrying silence because he promised a dead man. He looks like he wants to tell me everything, and the effort of not telling is visible in his jaw. Then he turns and walks back to his bike, swings himself on with easy grace and kicks the engine to life. The roar swallows whatever I was about to say next. And he's gone, and I'm standing in the doorway, understanding that both my parents were holding secrets so heavy they nearly bent under the weight. My father asked about the highway. My mother didn't stop. And now those secrets are becoming my responsibility. I lock the shop door again. The rally noise is muffled, and by the time I walk back towards the office, my hands have stopped shaking. Diesel is on the desk, his corner, same as every night. He lifts his head when I walk in, watches me, doesn't hiss, doesn't swipe, just tracks me with yellow eyes, like he's been waiting. I know, I tell him, scratching behind his ears. I'm not staying out of it either. Diesel blinks slowly and begins to purr under my hand for the first time since I arrived 6 weeks ago, as if agreeing with me. Maybe this is what he's wanted all along. Wanting answers, I grab my jacket and slip out the back door. The evening is cool enough for leather now, the kind of cool that smells like the end of summer, the beginning of winter, the specific ache of seasons turning. Jumping into my car, I head towards the Iron Cedars clubhouse that sits about a mile out of town. The clubhouse is a low brick building with blacked-out windows and a lot of muscle parked in the yard. The chapel is what they call the meeting room, a converted office with oak doors and no windows. Wrench Sullivan is inside, talking with 3 other club members. When I walk in, they go quiet. Wrench looks at me like I've appeared from nowhere. "Little Reed, I need to talk to you." The men around him exchange a look. The look says, "This girl is trouble." The look says, "She's June's daughter." The look says, "She's going to ask questions we're not allowed to answer." Wrench stands. He suddenly seems smaller than I remember, but more solid. The kind of solid that comes from control, from knowing where every muscle is and how to use it. "Come with me." He leads me to a small office in the back. The walls are covered with photographs. Iron Cedars members from different eras, different rallies, different times. I see my father in one of them. Younger, fierce, arm around Wrench with the kind of casual affection that comes from brotherhood. I see one of him and my mother. Mom sits behind him on his bike, her arms wrapped tightly around him. Her face, beaming with love, pinches my heart and reminds me of the other reason I left. Watching her mourn my father was too painful. "Your father loved this club," Wrench says, following my eyes. "He loved this town. He loved the work." "What work?" I ask. Wrench's jaw tightens. "Not my story to tell." "Then tell me what you know about the highway." He's quiet for a long moment. Then, "Your father asked questions about the highway 20 years ago. He was concerned about activity, movement. He was trying to understand what was happening and how the club fit into it." "And what is happening?" "That's what got your father killed, Harlow. Or got him so entangled in something that when he tried to step back, stepping back wasn't an option." Wrench's eyes are hard now. Hard and sad and certain. "I'm not letting that happen to you. You go back to Portland, you sell that shop, you build a life that has nothing to do with this town." "My mother kept records." Wrench's eyes flash. "I know she did, and she was a smart woman who understood that keeping those records was her way of staying safe. Not by acting on them, by keeping them, by documenting for a time when someone else might need to know." "Sketch wanted to know. And look what happened to Sketch." The words hang in the air between us. The suggestion is clear. Don't be like Sketch. Don't push. Don't investigate. Don't ask questions. Just document and stay quiet and survive. "I can handle it." "That's what your father said." Wrench's voice goes flat. "The smartest thing you can do is exist outside of this. Be untouchable. Be unknown. Be safe." I leave the clubhouse with more questions than I came with. But Wrench's eyes follow me out, and there's something in that look, something protective and cautionary, and certain that I'm going to do exactly what he told me not to do. He's not wrong. Chapter 6. Sunday morning. Last day of the rally. Vendor booths open at 8, and I'm in the shop by 7, restocking leather conditioner and candles. I slept 4 hours, and spent the other 4 staring at the ceiling, mapping connections like I'm charting a campaign. The work is familiar. Gather data, identify patterns, construct narrative. Sketch's question, my mother's records, Dolly's oblique comments, Karen's perfectly performative warmth at the crime scene, the weight of not knowing, my father asking about the highway 20 years ago, Ghost's warning, Ryder's urgency, Wrench's protective refusal, the locked drawer in my mother's desk, the cat guarding it. All of it connects. All of it points to a question nobody's asking out loud. Diesel is on the counter.
watching me like I'm conducting an important operation. He's awake, alert, present. He's not judging this morning. He's assisting. I scratch behind his ears. He permits it for 5 seconds, then pulls away. He hops down and disappears into the back office.
I run out and grab coffee from Ridgeline Coffee before opening. T-Bone is there, hunched over a mug in the corner. No bounce, no energy. He looks up when I sit down, and his face stays still for the first time I've ever seen it. The absence of his energy is almost loud. "You okay?" I ask. "Sketch was a good guy," he says, quietly. Not the loud T-Bone. Someone else entirely. Someone who knows how to be sad without performing it. I didn't know him that well, but he was patient with me once. When I was prospecting, most guys, they wouldn't talk to a prospect like a person. But Sketch did. He treated me like I mattered, like my questions were worth answering. I reach across the table and squeeze his hand. The gesture feels small compared to the weight of what he's carrying. It's okay to be sad about it. He nods, drinks his coffee. By mid-morning, the rally is roaring. Cedar candles sold out completely. 6 jackets moved, a 45-minute conversation with a woman from Spokane about leather tooling. The discussion surprises me. Not the marketing language, that's automatic, but the possessiveness. My brand, my shop, my candles. Since when did Ironside become mine? Diesel jumps onto the counter and sits directly on the cash register. Commentary on my scattered energy. I reach to move him, and he swipes. A warning swipe, not a serious one. A reminder. I know. Focus. He purrs. He stays on the counter, one eye on the door, one on me. By mid-morning, the crafting table is full. Glenda is there, and Chris, and T-Bone in his corner stitching his perpetually crooked patches, the kind that will never come off because they're stitched in with determination, even if the stitches are ugly. The table is an intelligence hub. This is where information moves in Cedar Hollow. This is where secrets find their way into the world. This is where my mother gathered currency. This is where people assume they're safe to talk. Glenda's hands are moving through leatherwork with the steadiness of decades. She pauses, needle in midair, and says quietly, "Did any of you get a close look at Karen's booth setup?" Chris looks up from her own stitching. "The art print lady? What about her?" "The prints rotate," Glenda says. "I've been to 5 rallies where she's had a booth. Different prints every time. Different styles. Like she's not actually selling her own work. She's buying generic stock and swapping it out." T-Bone puts his needle down. "Why would someone do that?" "Because the booth isn't the point," Glenda says. "The booth is cover." Bex noticed it too. She said the prints don't even have consistent signatures. Some are signed K. Albright, some aren't signed at all. The table goes quiet. Everyone processes this. The art lady. The one who was nice and polite and unremarkable. The one who seemed like she belonged. "I saw her talking to that Timberwolves guy," Chris says. "The one who died. Sketch, I think. They were behind the community center Friday night. She was close to him. Not friendly close. Intense." "Could have been innocent," Glenda says, but her tone suggests she doesn't believe that. Or could have been she was looking for something he had, or something he wrote down. The table falls silent. Everyone's thinking the same thing. A man dies. A woman with a rotating cover story was seen with him hours before. The connection is obvious. And it's exactly the kind of pattern my mother would have been watching for from this exact table for years. The door chimes. Danny Vega walks in. Danny Vega. Mid-30s, work boots, construction tan. Every small town has one. He nods at the table,
moves toward the back counter where I'm standing, pretending not to listen to the crafting table conversation. He's checking the room before he's even fully through the door, mapping exits, assessing. Diesel's reaction is immediate and absolute. The cat goes rigid. His tail puffs to 3 times its normal size. His back arches into a perfect Halloween cat curve. He hisses, a sound that cuts through the conversation. It's something primal, the sound of absolute rejection. Everyone at the crafting table stops moving. Hands still. Eyes land on Diesel. Land on Danny. Danny plays it off. Cats, right? He says with a laugh that doesn't land. They either love you or...
But he's not looking at Diesel. He's checking the back office door, looking at it once, then looking again, like there's something specific he needs to see back there. Diesel hisses again, louder. His eyes are locked on Danny, and the message is clear. Get out. You don't belong here. I know what you are. Just need a wallet repair, Danny says quickly, not meeting my eyes as he fumbles with pulling something from his jacket pocket. The leather is coming unstitched. Can you fix it? Of course. I pull out a repair ticket. His hands shake when he signs it. Barely visible, but there. He pays cash, doesn't wait for the receipt. He's out the door in less than 90 seconds. The crafting table resumes their work, but the energy has changed. The stitching is faster. The hands are tighter. Glenda sets down her needle and looks at me directly. Your mother's cat never did that before, she says quietly. Not to anyone, ever. That cat hates everyone equally, but it's a philosophical hate. This was something else. This was recognition. She means Diesel knows something. Diesel has seen something. And Diesel knows that Danny Vega is connected to whatever your mother was watching.
I look at the back office door. I think about Danny checking it. I think about a cat who's been sitting on a locked drawer for 6 weeks, guarding something precious. I think about my mother, who trained that cat to understand what matters. What else? I ask quietly. The table shifts. Suddenly, I'm being looked at. Suddenly, I'm not just a customer, but someone actively gathering information. Suddenly, I've marked myself as someone interested in patterns. There's more, Glenda says carefully. Sketch was here last year, too. I saw him talking to your mother in the back of the shop. Seemed serious. She handed him something small. He put it inside the pocket of his cut very carefully, like it mattered. My throat goes tight. Something small. A key, maybe. The locked drawer. Anything else? I ask. Numbers has been nervous about something that whole weekend. Like really nervous. He was on the phone behind the diner arguing about money. Someone said he made a deal with someone he shouldn't have made a deal with.
And Danny Vega was acting weird yesterday, too. T-Bone adds. Hovering around the community center parking lot like he was looking for something. Or hiding from something. The table returns to their stitching. The intelligence has been gathered and shared. The work goes on. I stand and I think. I think about a woman with rotating prints and no consistent signature. I think about Karen positioning her booth with tactical awareness. I think about Danny hovering. I think about numbers arguing about money. I think about whatever small thing Glenda saw my mother hand a sketch last year. I think about the locked drawer in my mother's desk. Once Sparrow arrives to take over, I leave the shop and walk the rally grounds. The vendor booths are running their last day. Banners snapping in the wind, tourists browsing, the smell of funnel cake and exhaust. Karen's art print booth is at the far end, near the community center entrance. She's sitting behind her display table with a thermos of coffee, and a paper plate with a half-eaten funnel cake, watching the crowd with the calm of someone who has nowhere urgent to be. She smiles when she sees me approach. "Harlow, how are you holding up?"
The question lands friendly, but the smile is slightly too wide. The warmth is slightly too performed. "Well enough," I say. "It was surprising to see someone you talked to just days earlier lying dead." "It was shocking," she agrees. "Though, honestly, I think he brought it on himself. Some people are just looking for trouble." The coldness of the statement is striking. The lack of empathy is striking. The suggestion that a man who got murdered somehow deserved it. "You were here Friday night," I say. "Did you see anything that night?" "No, I was in my room at the Stagecoach. Very early night. I like to make sure I'm prepared for the next day, so everything runs smoothly." It's a lie. It's a practiced lie. It's a lie she's rehearsed and perfected. But it's a lie. "That must have been nice," I say, "to have quiet time." It was. She takes a sip of her coffee, and her eyes move slightly, checking the crowd. Assessing. Always assessing. "Your mother was quite the entrepreneur, wasn't she? The shop seems to do very well." She knew how to listen, I say. She paid attention to people. Something flickers across Karen's face. Recognition. "That's a valuable skill," she says quietly. "Listening. Paying attention. Not asking questions, just observing." The words land specific. The implication? I'm like you. We both understand the value of observation over action. "I'm learning," I say. When I leave, she watches me go. I'm halfway down the alley behind Ironside when I hear footsteps. Fast, purposeful. Not the casual pace of someone heading to their car. "Harlow?" Karen is behind me. The warm smile is gone. Her face is clean of performance, stripped to the architecture underneath. Sharp cheekbones, flat eyes. She moves into the alley with the economy of someone who's done this before. Someone who understands how to use a narrow space. She doesn't touch me. She doesn't need to. She steps close enough that I can smell her coffee breath and says very quietly, "Your mother was smart enough to keep quiet. I hope you inherited that." My heart is hammering, but I keep my voice level. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Good." She holds my eyes for 3 full seconds. "Keep it that way." Then she turns and walks back toward the rally like nothing happened. Casual stride, hands in her jacket pockets. A woman enjoying a Sunday afternoon. My legs are shaking. I lean against the brick wall and breathe. She knew about my mother. She knew Mom was watching. Which means whoever sent Karen here, whoever she's working for, they knew too. This isn't observation anymore. This is a warning. Neil Carver appears at my elbow as I'm heading back to the shop. "How are you doing?" he asks, with that soft, warm concern of someone who's practiced being helpful. "This has been such an ordeal for you." "I'm managing." "I'm glad." He walks beside me. "You know, I was actually nearby Friday night. I saw Karen behind the community center. She seemed to be looking for something." I stop. "You saw her?" "Just for a moment. I was hiking back to my truck. She was walking away from the building, moving quickly, purposefully." Shrugs. "Probably nothing. She was probably just stretching her legs." But his eyes tell a different story. His eyes say, "I saw something, and I'm trusting you with that information." Why would Neil Carver trust me with that? Why would Neil Carver be volunteering information about Karen? Unless Neil Carver knows more than he's saying.
Unless Neil Carver is also part of whatever's happening. Unless Neil Carver is watching, just like my mother watched. Watching just like I'm learning to watch. I walk back past the community center instead of going back to the shop. The yellow tape is down. Nobody's paying attention to the spot behind the building where Sketch died. It's just gravel and concrete. Just a place where something happened and then moved on. I stand at the exact spot. This is where his body was. This is where someone did something deliberate. The concrete wall is scuffed, not randomly, but in a specific pattern. Marks about waist height, angled like something was pressed against it with force. Or someone. The scuffs suggest someone was positioned here, back against the wall. Not fighting, not moving freely. Positioned. I look at the ground. The gravel is disturbed in a way that makes sense now. The pattern doesn't match random struggle. The kicks are concentrated in one direction. Someone's standing in front of him, moving methodically. Not rage, technique. I move around the perimeter. The sight lines from this spot are good. Excellent, actually. You can see the parking lot where Karen's booth is positioned. You can see the path from the rally area. You can see who's approaching before they arrive. This wasn't random selection. This was a planned location. Someone chose this spot because they could watch their target approach. My phone is in my pocket. I take photos, close-ups of the scuffs, wide shots of the sightlines, documentation, evidence, the same work my mother was doing, just in a different format. There's a boot print in the mud near the dumpster, partially dried but clear, small, narrow, not a biker boot, not a man's boot, a woman's boot. The tread pattern is distinctive. I photograph it from 3 angles. Diesel would approve of this. My mother would approve of this. Noticing, documenting, building a record of what happened so it doesn't just disappear. I stand there for another minute and think about Squetch and the fact that he came to me asking about records because he understood my mother had been doing exactly this, watching, documenting, building evidence for 20 years. Then someone killed him to stop him from revealing what he found. Thinking about how I'm standing at a murder scene, taking photographs, I'm starting to understand why my father asked questions that were dangerous, why my mother hid the records she kept, why they both needed to document something they couldn't act on. Then I head back to the shop, back to Diesel, back to the locked drawer, which I'm now convinced holds everything my mother documented. Back at the now quiet shop, Diesel is waiting on the counter. He hasn't moved. He's been sitting there the whole time I was gone, watching the door, keeping guard. When I come in, he hops down and follows me to the back office. The locked drawer is still there, locked, waiting for the key I don't have. But I'm done waiting for answers to walk through my door.
Chapter 7. Sunday night, 9 o'clock. I'm parked on Cedar Street with my headlights off, watching Danny Vega's truck. Men who pay cash and don't wait for receipts aren't worried about getting their wallets repaired. They're worried about being remembered. Danny comes out of the timber lodge at 9:15. He doesn't drive towards the subdivision where I know he lives. He turns east on Route 20, the highway corridor. I follow at a distance, 2 cars between us. The road unspools into darkness. The mountains are black shapes against a sky full of stars. I've never driven this stretch at night. The headlights carve tunnels through the dark. He pulls off at a rest stop 12 miles east of town. Cedar Creek Rest Area. One of those concrete and gravel pull-offs with a bathroom building and a couple of picnic tables. Nobody stops here after dark, unless they have a reason. I kill my headlights and pull onto the shoulder 50 yards back. Through the windshield, I can see Danny's truck parked under the one working light. He's out of the cab, leaning against the tailgate,
waiting.
5 minutes. A dark pickup pulls in from the east. No plates visible from this distance. Danny walks to the driver's side. A conversation through the window. Short, transactional. Danny hands something over. An envelope. The truck's interior light catches the edge of it. Cash or documents. Danny receives something back. Smaller, harder to see. I have my phone out. Camera open. I'm shooting through the windshield. The images will be grainy, but the trucks are identifiable. The location is identifiable. The timestamp is identifiable. The dark pickup pulls away. Danny watches it go. Then he turns and looks directly down the road at my car. My blood goes cold. He walks toward me, not running, walking. The deliberate pace of a man who wants you to know he sees you. 50 yards, 40, 30. I can see his face now in the ambient light. Not angry, calm, which is worse. He stops at my window. I've locked the doors. My hand is on the ignition. "Nice night for a drive," he says. His voice is conversational, almost friendly. "You should be careful, though. Roads out here are dangerous after dark. Lots of blind curves, lots of drop-offs." He rests one hand on my roof. "Wouldn't want anything to happen to June's girl." The June's lands like a slap. He knows exactly who I am. He knows exactly whose daughter I am. He knows exactly what my mother was doing. "I got lost," I say. My voice doesn't shake. Small miracle. "Sure you did." He taps the roof twice, a casual, almost friendly gesture that carries the unmistakable weight of a threat, and walks back to his truck. He pulls out, passes me slowly, and disappears west toward town. I sit in the dark for 10 minutes before I can drive. My hands are trembling on the wheel. The photographs are on my phone. The rest stop, the trucks, the handoff. 12 miles east on Route 20. I drive home at exactly the speed limit, checking my mirror the whole way. When I get to the shop, I lock every door and go straight to the back office. The locked drawer. I'm done waiting. I try the letter opener first. The blade slips off the lock plate without catching. I try a flathead screwdriver from the tool peg board. Jam it in, twist. The lock doesn't budge. The desk is solid oak, built in an era when furniture was meant to last generations. The drawer fits flush. No gaps, no give. I get on my knees and try to pry from underneath. Nothing. The wood doesn't flex. I could take a crowbar to it, destroy the desk, but whatever's inside might be fragile. And this desk was my mother's. The desk where she sat for 20 years, watching and writing and keeping her secrets safe. I can't bring myself to splinter it. Diesel watches me from the corner with an expression that says, "That's not how this works." "I know," I tell him. "I need the key." I sit on the floor with my back against the desk. Diesel in my lap, his purr the only sound in the building. Karen threatened me this morning. Danny threatened me tonight. 2 warnings in one day. Whatever my mother was watching, it's watching me back. And the answers are 6 inches away, behind a lock I can't open. Chapter 8. I call Deputy Navarro Monday morning. "I need to talk to you," I say. No preamble. Not as a witness this time, as someone with information. Station, noon. Bring what you have. I spend 4 hours compiling the information. The timeline, Karen's product rotation, the social media search, the gap between her story and the evidence, the alley confrontation. Your mother was smart enough to keep quiet. Danny's rest stop handoff on Route 20. Neil seeing Karen walking away from the community center. The boot print. By noon, I have 4 pages of notes,
printed out screenshots, and one clear conclusion. Karen Albrecht is either lying about her background or she's not Karen Albrecht at all. Deputy Navarro reads it in silence. When she finishes, she looks at me over the pages. "This is good work," she says. Or I'm reading patterns that aren't there. You found 4 independent confirmations that she rotates her product line. That's not pattern matching. That's data. Navarro pulls out her phone. "I'm going to follow up with her. Do you know where she's staying?" "The Stagecoach Motel." She makes a note. "If I need anything else, I'll call you."
The records, I say. Sketch asked about my mother's records. What was he looking for? Deputy Navarro's expression flickers, the micro moment when she decides what to share. That's a bigger question than Karen Albrecht. Then answer the bigger question. Not yet. But she says it gently, like she understands what I'm asking, like she's been waiting for me to follow the threads. Let me confirm the Karen angle first. Then we'll talk about what Sketch was actually investigating. I leave the station with confirmation that the thread exists, but no answer about where it leads. The thread leads deeper than the murder of Sketch. It leads to my mother, to my father, and to something that scared them both enough to keep it secret. From the station, I walk straight to the Cedar Hollow Library, a collection of large, bright rooms on the top floor of the municipal building that smells like old paper and floor wax. Sparrow's social media dig gave me the digital breadcrumbs, but the actual records, the property transfers, the business filings Sketch was posting about, those live here. Kittitas County hasn't digitized anything before 2015, and whatever my mother and Sketch were tracking goes back decades. Mrs. Okafor is the librarian. 60s, patient, reading glasses on a beaded chain. She looks up from her desk like she's been expecting me. County land records, I say. Property transfers along the highway corridor. Route 20, Cedar Hollow to Ellensburg. She doesn't ask why. She pulls a ring of keys from her desk and leads me to the back room where the county records are kept in filing cabinets that look older than I am. Plat maps on the walls, the smell of ink and dust and bureaucracy. These are the transfer records, she says, pulling a drawer, organized by year and parcel number. Your mother used to come in for these too. I stop. My mother?
Monthly, sometimes more. Mrs. Okafor pulls a sign-in logbook from the shelf. The pages go back years. I flip through, and there it is. June Reed. Again and again, the same neat signature, requesting the same types of documents. Property transfers, business filings, land registrations. Always along the corridor. Always systematic. She was very organized about it. Same dates, same document types, like clockwork. Did she ever say what she was looking for? No, but she was thorough. Mrs. Okafor adjusts her glasses. She reminded me of a researcher building a case. I spend an hour pulling the records Sketch was posting about online. The shell companies are here. Ridgeline Holdings, Cascade Way LLC, Timber Point Associates, buying up commercial parcels along Route 20 in a pattern that makes no sense unless you're looking for way stations, rest stops, places where something could be stored, transferred, moved along. The transfers happen in clusters, every December, like clockwork. A network of ownership designed to obscure who's actually in control. My mother saw this. She pulled these same records, tracked these same patterns, and took it all home to that locked drawer. On my way out, I pass the newspaper archive. The Cedar Hollow Sentinel, bound by year. I slow down. Somewhere in these volumes is the coverage of my father's death 20 years ago. What was reported, what wasn't, the official story versus whatever actually happened. My hand reaches for the 2005 volume. Then I pull it back. Not today. That's a door I'm not ready to open yet. One locked drawer at a time. Mrs. Okafor, I say at the door, those records my mother was pulling, did anyone else ever request the same ones? She thinks. A man. Last year. Quiet. He said he was doing research for a history project. Sketch. Did he find what he was looking for? I don't think so, she says. He kept coming back. From the library, I walk several blocks to the Stagecoach Motel. I don't have a plan. I have a hunch and a racing pulse and the memory of Karen's breath in my face saying, "Your mother was smart enough to keep quiet." Deputy Navarro said she'd follow up, but she follows procedure, which takes time, and Danny Vega's hand on my car roof is still echoing through my nervous system. The Stagecoach is a 12-unit motel on the east side of town. Brown, cracked siding, gravel parking lot, and furnishings from the last century. Karen's room number was on her vendor registration. I saw it pinned to the community center board. Room 7. The maid's cart is parked outside room 9. The door to room 7 is closed, but the window curtain has a gap. I walk past like I'm heading to the ice machine. I glance in. The room is tidy, bed made, but the bedside table has a laptop open and papers spread across it. Working papers. Organized. Labeled. The maid comes out of room 9, pushing her cart toward room 10. She sees me, nods. I nod back. She rounds the corner. I try the handle on room 7. Locked. I keep walking. Around the back of the motel, the bathroom windows are the old crank type. Metal frames, single pane. Room 7's bathroom window is cracked open an inch for ventilation. I look around. The back lot is empty. Just dumpsters and a chain link fence. I push the window open. It swings wide. The bathroom is narrow enough that I can see the bedroom clearly from here. I lean through the window as far as possible. Not for the first time, I'm glad I bought the phone with the upgraded camera. Zooming in, I photograph everything. The laptop screen, a spreadsheet with dates and route numbers, the papers on the bedside table, a map of Route 20 with locations circled in red, and a phone sitting on the nightstand. Not Karen's phone. She had an iPhone at the booth. This is a burner. Black, prepaid, the kind you buy at a gas station. I concentrate on the map. The circled locations match the parcels I just pulled at the library. Cedar Creek Rest Area, where Danny met the dark truck last night, is circled twice. There's one more thing. A photo, printed on regular paper, sitting under the map. A man. I zoom in. Sketch Braddock. It's a surveillance photo, taken from a distance, at a gas station, without his knowledge. Someone was watching Sketch before he came to Cedar Hollow. Someone sent Karen here knowing exactly who she was looking for. I take as many photos as possible in under a minute. Then I close the window to its original position and walk back to the sidewalk like I've got nowhere important to be. My hands are shaking, and I shove them into my pockets. I have evidence. Real evidence. Not observations and pricing analysis. Photographs of a surveillance operation targeting the man who was murdered. Photographs that connect Karen's room to the highway corridor. Photographs that prove this wasn't a bar fight. I walk straight to the police station and ask for Deputy Navarro. She looks at the photos for a long time. Then she looks at me. You went to her room. The window was open. Harlow. Her voice is careful, controlled. You understand I can't use evidence obtained. You can use it to get a warrant, probable cause. I'm a civilian, different rules. She stares at me. I can see her calculating. The law, the ethics, the fact that a murdered man's surveillance photo is sitting in a motel room 12 blocks from where he died. The fact that every hour Karen stays free is an hour she could run. I'll make some calls, Navarro says. She doesn't thank me. She doesn't need to.
Go home. Lock your doors. Don't go back to that motel.
I wasn't planning on it.
Harlow. She catches my arm at the door. Karen Albrecht. Whoever she really is. She knows you're looking. After what you told me she said to you in that alley, she knows. Be careful.
I nod. I'm already being careful.
I'm being careful the way my mother was careful. By documenting everything. By building a record. By making sure that if something happens to me, the evidence survives. Monday afternoon. Glenda stays after the others leave. The shop is quiet. Just the two of us. The light starting to angle gold through the front windows. The crafting table is cleared, except for her leather and her tools. She's putting them away with the careful precision of someone who's been doing this for 50 years. Sit, she says, gesturing to the stool across from her. I don't argue. I sit.
She pulls out a piece of leather, soft, worn, the kind that's been worked many times. Then she threads a needle with movements so practiced they look like meditation. She's already showing me something before I understand that's what she's doing. Your mother invented this stitch, she says, positioning her hands. Not invented, exactly. Modified an old one. She called it the cross cedar stitch. You ever learn it? No. She said she wanted to teach it to you herself. But since she can't? Glenda doesn't finish the sentence. She doesn't need to. I can walk you through it. She guides my hands into position. The leather is warm from her hands. The needle slides through my fingers in ways my hands remember, even though my brain doesn't. Muscle memory is its own language. See how the thread comes over, then under? Glenda's voice is steady, instructive. The voice of someone who's taught this motion to many hands. The first pass looks like a simple cross, but here's the trick. She repositions my needle. The second pass, you go underneath the first line. Both threads are anchored, but only one is visible. That's the whole thing. Two lines that look independent, but they're bound together underneath. My hands move through the motion. It's not perfect. It's not even good, but it's starting to hold shape. This was June's way of doing things. Glenda continues, not looking up from my hands. Everything visible was just the top layer. Everything that mattered, everything that held it together, that was underneath, where nobody could see it. That was the real work. We stitch in silence. The repetitive motion settles something in my chest. My hands start to anticipate the needle's path. The cross forms underneath. The stitch holds. Your mother was arranging us, Glenda says suddenly, at this table. Every single week she'd move who sat where. She never said why. It was like she was choreographing something, making sure certain people sat near certain conversations, rotating the dynamics like she was conducting an orchestra. Why? That's what I didn't understand for years. But then I started paying attention, the way she was paying attention. And I realized she was making sure information moved the right direction. She was managing what got said and who heard it. She was protecting people. Glenda's hands steady mine when they start to shake. She was also documenting things. The questions she asked were never random. They were strategic. She was gathering information the same way a general gathers intelligence, building a map. Of what? I ask. Of everything, Glenda says simply. Of what was moving through this town. Of who was connected to who. Of what was happening that nobody was supposed to notice. I finish the stitch. It's clumsy, but it holds. The cross is visible. The binding underneath is invisible. But it's there. It's what makes the whole thing work. Your mother trusted me to know that, Glenda says, setting down her needle. She trusted a lot of people, not with the whole picture,
just with the parts that mattered to them. Compartmentalized, safe. Why are you telling me this? Because you're doing what she did, paying attention, noticing patterns. And you're going to need to know that you're not alone in it. There are people in this town who've been watching with her, who understand what needs understanding. Glenda stands. She puts her tools away with methodical care. When she reaches the door, she turns back. Your mother never stopped noticing, she says. Not until she couldn't anymore. You keep that same attention. You keep that same care. And you remember that the cross-cedar stitch only holds if both lines are anchored underneath. Then she's gone, and I'm holding my first successful cross-stitch and understanding that my mother built a network the way she built leather goods, carefully, deliberately, with everything that mattered hidden underneath, where only the people who knew would understand. Tuesday evening, Sparrow and I close the shop together. The post-rally foot traffic has dropped considerably, and the foot traffic has dropped considerably. We move through the closing ritual, sweeping, restocking, counting register receipts. The work is quiet and rhythmic. Two people finding their rhythm without having to negotiate every step. She's humming something under her breath, indie minor key. Her movements are efficient. She knows where everything belongs. She doesn't ask permission or wait for guidance. The shop has seeped into her muscle memory. Your mom was different at the end, Sparrow says, sweeping around the crafting table. Not looking at me, just saying it into the work. Not sick different, just like she was getting ready for something. I pause, mid-count on a stack of fives. Getting ready for what? I don't know. But she started asking me to learn things, not just the front register, the whole inventory system, how we source, how we order, how we track. She had this notebook, smaller than the ledger, leather-bound, and she'd write in it when she thought I wasn't looking. It must be in the locked drawer. Did she seem scared? I ask.
Sparrow looks up. Her eyes are sharp in a way that makes her seem older than 17. No, she seemed focused, like she was making sure things were in order, like she was preparing someone, me, maybe you if you came back, to take over. Sparrow sweeps around a table leg with precision. She asked me to learn the back office system, everything, the filing, the keys, the locked drawer. My breath catches. The locked drawer? She never told me what was in it. But one day she took me back there and pointed at the bottom drawer and said, if something happens to me, this matters. Someone will come for it eventually. I asked her where the key was, and she just shook her head, said it was safer somewhere else, not in the shop. Sparrow finishes sweeping and leans the broom against the counter. I thought maybe she was sick, that she knew something, but then she seemed fine again, and I figured I was being dramatic. When was this? I asked carefully. April, maybe May, before the summer. Sparrow's hands are in her apron pockets. She's giving me something, and we both know it matters. She also told me I was good at reading people, that some people notice things and some people don't, and I was the kind who notices. She said if I kept that skill sharp, I could take care of myself, that I could understand when someone wasn't trustworthy. Did she say why that mattered? No, but after she died, I started paying more attention. Sparrow meets my eyes. Like, if she went through the trouble to teach me that, there must have been a reason. She returns the broom to the closet. The closing is almost complete. The shop is ready to sleep. I think she was protecting you, I tell her. Not from something specific, just making sure you could take care of yourself. I think she was protecting all of us, Sparrow says. You, me, probably other people too. She just didn't want to say it directly. After she leaves, her jacket over her shoulder, backpack slung across her chest,
moving into the October evening like she's got somewhere important to be. I stand in the shop and think about mothers who prepare their daughters, who teach without explaining, who create contingencies they hope never need to be used. The locked drawer is still waiting in the back office, but now I know my mother meant for people to open it. She meant for it to matter. She meant for her watching to become my understanding. That night, I'm sitting on the front steps of the shop at midnight, watching nothing. The street is empty. October has settled into its cold phase. The air smells like wood smoke and frost, and the particular silence that comes after a town has been loud for too long. A motorcycle idles around the corner, cuts off. Footsteps on the sidewalk. Then Ghost, jacket zipped, carrying a brown paper bag. He doesn't ask if I'm okay. He sits down on the step beside me, reaches into the bag, and pulls out 2 bottles of IPA from the brewery in Ellensburg. He cracks one against the step edge, a practiced move, and hands it to me. "I saw your light on," he says. I couldn't sleep.
I know the feeling. We drink. The beer is cold and bitter and exactly right. For a full minute, neither of us says anything. The silence is different from the other times we've been near each other. No tension, no subtext. Just 2 people sitting on concrete. T-Bone tried to rebuild a carburetor last week. How'd that go? He used a spatula. A spatula. A kitchen spatula. The kind you flip pancakes with. He said he saw a video. Ghost takes a sip. His mouth twitches. The bike ran for about 4 seconds, and then made a noise that I can only describe as mechanical sobbing. I laugh. The sound surprises me. It comes up from somewhere below my ribs. Actual laughter, not the polite version I've been performing for 6 weeks. It echoes off the shop windows and disappears into the empty street. He means well, Ghost says. He really does. He'd die for anyone at that table. He just shouldn't be allowed near engines unsupervised. Ghost stretches his legs out. His boot touches mine. Neither of us moves. Your mother thought he was hilarious. She used to save the worst repair jobs for him, the ones that were already ruined, just to watch him try. That sounds like her. She'd stand behind the counter with her hand over her mouth, trying not to laugh. And he'd be back there sweating over some destroyed wallet, completely sincere. And she just... He shakes his head. She loved that kid. The warmth of it hits me somewhere unexpected. Not the grief warmth I've been carrying. Something simpler. The image of my mother laughing at T-Bone. The image of her being happy in this shop. Being entertained. I forget she was funny, I say quietly. She was. Ghost turns his bottle in his hands. People remember the serious parts. The watching, the way she ran this place. But she had this laugh. Low, like she was trying to keep it to herself. And when you got it out of her, it felt like you'd won something. I know that laugh. I'd forgotten, but I know it. We sit drinking our beer in the street, empty and quiet around us. "You still have that poster?" Ghost says, nodding toward the shop window. Inside, barely visible in the dark, is a framed poster from the 2008 rally, a hand-drawn illustration of the Cedar Hollow skyline, with motorcycles streaming through it like a river. Mom kept everything. She kept that? I drew it when I was 19. On a napkin, during a meeting I was supposed to be paying attention to. He squints at it. The proportions are insane. The mountains look like teeth. She had it framed. She had it framed? He stares at me like I've told him something impossible. It's terrible. It's hanging in the shop, Ghost. It's been there for 18 years. He covers his face with one hand. He's laughing, or close to it. The sound is low and unguarded and completely unlike the controlled man I've been talking to all week. For 10 seconds, he's just a guy who's embarrassed that his bad teenage art is on a wall. Your mother, he says, dropping his hand, was a deeply strange woman. She really was. He looks at me. The laughter fades into something quieter, but doesn't disappear entirely. It stays in his eyes. For the first time since I came home, I'm looking at Ghost Voss without the mystery between us, without the warnings and the loaded silence and the weight of whatever he's carrying. Just him. Just the person he is when he's not performing protection.
Your dad used to do this, he says. Not cryptic, just remembering. Sit out here at night when there was too much in his head. He'd come down to the sidewalk and just breathe for a while. You and June would be upstairs sleeping, and he'd be down here, trying to get quiet. You'd sit with him? Sometimes, when I was young and didn't know what to do with myself. He never told me to leave. Ghost finishes his beer, sets the bottle down carefully. He was a good man, Harlow. Whatever else you find out, and you will find things, hold on to that. He was good. It's the most direct thing he said about my father. No code, no deflection. Just a man telling me he loved my dad. Thank you, I say. He nods. He stands. He looks down at me on the steps, beer bottle in hand, hair loose, sitting in the cold at midnight, like a woman who's decided something. He kisses the top of my head, slow, deliberate. His hand rests on my shoulder for exactly 1 second. Then he steps back. The warmth of his presence lingers. Lock the door, he says. I will. He walks back to his bike. The engine turns over. The sound rolls down Main Street and fades. I sit on the steps for another 10 minutes, holding an empty beer bottle and the certain knowledge that whatever my parents were holding, whatever secrets are still waiting, I'm not carrying them alone. Chapter 9. By Wednesday afternoon, the last traces of the rally are disappearing as the remaining vendor booths come down. The road signs get collected. The community center parking lot transforms back from a temporary village into just a parking lot. By 6 o'clock, Cedar Hollow is back to the sleepy town it was before. I'm counting register receipts when Deputy Navarro calls. We picked up Catherine Merrick at the Stagecoach Motel 30 minutes ago. Catherine, not Karen. Who is she? I ask. That's the question we're asking right now. Her prints came back to an ID issued in Idaho 3 years ago under the name Karen Albrecht. The social security number attached to it belongs to a woman who died in 2019. Merrick's real driver's license, the one we found in the motel room, shows she's been in the system before. For what? Can't say. But those photos you took at the Stagecoach, the surveillance photo of Sketch, the route map, that's what got us the warrant. We found the rest when we searched the room. Deputy Navarro pauses. She's in interrogation. She hasn't said a word, asked for a lawyer, and shut down. I sit with this. The generic motorcycle prints on her booth, the 14-month social media trail, the product rotations, the watching, the walking, the performance, the coldness at the crime scene. Sketch, I say. What was he looking for? Still working on that, but the Karen Albrecht identity is a dead end. Literally. The real Karen Albrecht died in 2019 in Boise. Marek took her name, her social, built a whole person out of a dead woman's paperwork. This wasn't improvised. She came to this rally with a cover already in place. She knew he was coming. Or she was watching for him. Either way, she was ready. Deputy Navarro pauses. We also brought Danny Vega in for questioning based on the rest stop photos. He lawyered up fast, but the plates on that second truck came back to a shell company out of Portland. Same network.
Danny's not going anywhere. We've got his passport flagged. What about numbers?
Mr. Kwan? Navarro almost laughs. He was embezzling rally vendor fees, skimming about 3% off the top to cover a gambling debt. His accountant caught it Monday, and he's been scrambling to pay it back before anyone noticed. That's why he was sweating. Nothing to do with Sketch. Small-town crime layered over something much bigger. A man terrified of being caught stealing a few $100s, standing in the same room as a woman who came to Cedar Hollow to kill someone. Navarro's voice drops. You did good work, Harlow. Go home. Get some sleep. We'll handle it from here. I hang up and I look at Diesel, who has positioned himself on the counter with the air of someone who approves of recent developments. He watches me with the knowledge of a cat who's been observing everything, who's been noting patterns, who's been waiting for me to catch up. The thread leads somewhere bigger than a bar fight, somewhere bigger than a jealous ex-partner, somewhere my mother was watching and my father was asking questions about 20 years ago. I close the shop at 6 and climb the stairs to the apartment, my phone in my pocket, the locked drawer still waiting in my mother's desk. The mystery doesn't disappear just because one piece is in custody. It deepens. Ghost shows up Thursday morning with his work gloves on and a question on his face. I left my cut with June, he says at the counter. Back in July. She was doing some repair work. Patches coming loose. Seams fran. I never came back for it. The implication sits between us. He didn't come back because she died. Because picking up a cut from a dead woman's shop felt like something he wasn't ready to do. Let me check the back, I say. I find it in the repair closet, hanging on a hook with a tag in Mom's handwriting. Voss. Shoulder seam. Patch rebind. Edge finish. The leather is faded. Iron cedar's patches worn soft at the edges. The underlying leather creased with 20 years of wearing. She was halfway through rebinding the shoulder seam. The needle is still threaded, pinned to the fabric where she left it. Everything about this is evidence of a woman who was in the middle of work, who didn't know she wouldn't come back to finish. I bring it to the counter and lay it out, run my fingers across the leather. The patches are ancient, the club's first insignia, from when the iron cedars were still forming their identity. The leather underneath is quality, vegetable tanned, the kind that only gets better with age, if you maintain it. She got about halfway through, I say. The shoulder seam's done. Patches still need rebinding. Caleb looks at the cut, then at me. He's trying to give me an out, a way to say this is too much work, I'm not ready, and he understands. But his eyes are careful, present. He's willing to wait. I can finish it, I say. It's not complicated. I can have it done by Monday. Something in his face shifts, just a slight easing, like he's surprised I know what I'm doing, like he expected me to be helpless here, and I'm not. You sure? Yeah. Mom taught me when I was 6. I've done worse. There's something else, Ghost says. He shifts his weight. The discomfort is visible, a man not used to showing vulnerability. Your father used to bring me here, when I was prospecting, before anything official. He'd have me sit at that table. He points to the crafting corner. And he'd have June teach me how to oil leather, how to care for it. He said the same thing every time. If you take care of something properly, it tells you when something's wrong. The double meaning lands clean. He's talking about leather care, but he's also talking about club business, about watching, about maintenance. Your dad believed in maintenance, Ghost continues. His voice is quiet. Taking time, paying attention, making sure nothing was neglected or ignored. He said that's the only way you know when something's broken, when something needs fixing. I run my thumb across the frayed seam. The leather is worn, but solid. This cut has been maintained for 2 decades. Someone has been caring for it all this time. I'll do a good job, I tell him. Same as she would have. I know you will.
When he walks to the door, he pauses.
"Your mom understood maintenance too," he says. "She understood that taking care of things matters, that attention is a form of love." Then he's gone, and I'm holding a cut and beginning to understand that every person who walks into this shop is bringing me a message. My parents were teaching people something, teaching us all something, and they made sure I'd be the one here to finish the work. I hang the cut carefully in the back office, right next to the leather tools. Tomorrow. I'll start tomorrow. Chapter 10. Friday morning, Deputy Navarro calls me back into the station. She's waiting in the same clean office, same stale coffee, but her expression is different, heavier. Catherine Merrick's prints came back tied to an investigation the feds closed in 2018, Navarro says. She was connected to a network trafficking prescription pills out of Portland. Never convicted. She was a courier, low level, and she took a deal that required her to disappear. And she did. She became Karen Albrecht. For 3 years. Then something changed. Sketch started asking questions about the highway, about why certain people were moving through Cedar Hollow at specific times. He compiled a file, and someone sent Catherine Merrick to stop him before he could take it to anyone who mattered. I sit with this. The rational part of me wants to ask who sent her, but I don't ask, because the answer lives in that locked drawer. He came to me because of my mother, I say. Yes. Because my mother was tracking it. The same operation. Yes, Navarro says. And the single word carries the weight of 20 years of hidden truth. I sit in the clean office, in the hard morning light. Something inside me shifts. Not breaks. Shifts. Like the ground tilting so the light falls differently. And my father? I ask. Deputy Navarro sets down her coffee. Your father was the Iron Cedar's vice president. He was in a position to see things. According to what Sketch left behind, Axel asked similar questions 20 years ago. He dropped it after a while. We don't know why. But your mother apparently didn't. The room tilts. My father. My mother. 2 decades of watching from different angles. 2 decades of asking questions they couldn't ask out loud. 2 decades of secrets kept. 2 decades of parallel investigation. The locked drawer in her desk, I say. That's where she kept it. And then, the cat's been guarding it. Since she died. He won't let anyone near it. Navarro doesn't laugh. She doesn't even blink. Animals know things, she says simply. Better than people do sometimes. You believe that? I believe your mother was smart enough to train a cat. Navarro reaches into her desk drawer and pulls out a small evidence bag. Inside it, a key. Old, brass, small enough to fit a desk drawer. We found this in Sketch's personal effects, she says, clasped in his hand. She turns the bag so I can see the tag hanging from the key. J.R. June Reed. The room goes still. Sketch, nervous and afraid in my shop, had a key with my mother's initials. He came to Cedar Hollow carrying the one thing that could open whatever she'd been hiding. Officially, it's been processed and released, Navarro says. It's not evidence in the murder case. It's yours. I take the bag. The key is warm through the plastic. Thank you, I say. If you find something, you'll be the first call. On my way out, I see Ghost in the waiting area. He's not here for me. The club president, Wrench, sent him. He stands. Follows me outside. You know, he says. Not a question. Some of it. I hold up the evidence bag. The brass key catches the sun. And now,
I have this. Something moves behind his eyes. He knows. He's always known. Will you be there when I open it? I ask. He doesn't answer right away. Your father made me promise to keep it quiet, not to help you find it. Then don't help me find it. Just be there when I do. He nods, slow. Yeah, I can do that. Tonight?
Tonight, he agrees. And something in the set of his shoulders shifts, like he's finally putting down weight he's carried for 20 years. Chapter 11. The afternoon crawls. I open the shop after the station visit and try to focus on the ordinary work. Reorders, supplier calls, a conversation with a craftsman in Ellensburg about restocking tooled belts. But the key is in my pocket, and my hand keeps drifting to it, making sure it's still there. The crafting corner saves me. By 2 o'clock, the table is occupied. Glenda with her belt tooling, a young woman named Ava who's been working on leather earrings for 3 weeks, and T-Bone, who absolutely shouldn't be allowed near leather working tools, but keeps showing up with the enthusiasm of a golden retriever learning a card trick. I'm telling ya, T-Bone says, holding up a crooked iron cedars patch he's been stitching for 40 minutes. This thing is cursed. The needle hates me. The needle doesn't hate you, Glenda says, not looking up from her belt. You're pulling the thread too tight. Ease up. I am easing up. You're strangling it. Pretend it's a baby bird. I don't want to hold a baby bird. Then pretend it's a burrito you don't want to squeeze the filling out of. T-Bone considers this with the gravity of a man receiving sacred wisdom. He adjusts his grip. The stitch goes in straighter. He beams at Glenda like she's just given him the keys to the universe. I stand behind the counter and watch them, and something settles in my chest. Something warm, specific, terrifying in its simplicity. At 9 o'clock that evening, I'm downstairs in the shop, lights off, key in my pocket, sitting on the stool behind the register with my hands steady. I stand when I hear the roar of the engine cut outside. Ghost knocks once. I let him in. We don't speak as he follows me to the back office. The weight of his presence behind me is grounding. This is what he promised my father, to be there when this moment came, to witness. Diesel is on the desk, his corner. 6 weeks of this, planted over that locked drawer like a 20-pound sentry. I kneel down. Diesel watches me. He doesn't hiss. He doesn't swipe. He stands up slowly, stretches. A long, full body stretch. The kind a cat does when a nap is truly over, when the job is done, and hops off the desk. He sits beside me on the floor and looks up at my face. Finally. He was never grieving on this desk. He was on duty, and his shift is over. The key slides in. The mechanism is smooth, well-maintained, oiled, cared for. The lock clicks open. Inside, a leather journal, worn soft by handling. The cover is simple, just the initials in small gold lettering. J.R. The handwriting is hers. Careful, precise. Photographs, carefully labeled and dated. A list of names, dozens of them, with dates and routes marked in careful notation. Cedar Hollow to Portland. Portland to Eugene. Eugene to places I don't recognize. A second journal. Photocopies of documents I don't understand yet. Financial records. Maps with routes marked in careful handwriting. Some circled, some starred, some marked with question marks. 20 years of carefully collected evidence. And underneath it all, a letter, addressed in my mother's careful handwriting. To whoever opens this.
My hands are shaking, but my voice is steady. She knew, I say to Ghost. About the operation. About my father's questions. About all of it.
Yeah, Ghost says softly from the doorway. His face is half in shadow. He looks like a man who's finally putting down something he's carried too long. Your father asked her to keep it, to document what he couldn't act on. That's all I know. The rest is in there. He nods at the drawer. He's not giving me the full story. He's giving me permission to find it myself. I fold the letter carefully. Not tonight. Thank you, I tell Ghost, for being here. Your father would want someone here. You'll bring this to Navarro, he says, reading my face. Not a question. When I'm ready, I need time to understand what I'm holding first. I need to read her words before I hand them over to anyone. Need to be sure of who I can trust. He steps back toward the door. Harlow? I look up. That's not a burden. That's a legacy. Then he's gone, and I'm alone with her careful handwriting and 2 decades of the truth.
Chapter 12. Saturday morning, I'm at the crafting table with Ghost's cut. The patches are coming loose along the left shoulder. Not torn, just worn out at the thread. 20 years of wear will do that. The seams along the side panels are fraying where the leather has softened past its stitching's ability to hold. My mother would have restitched the whole left side and reset the patches with a waxed linen thread strong enough to last another decade. I'm not my mother, but I have her tools and her table and the muscle memory of watching her hands for 17 years before I left. I pick the old stitching out carefully. The leather underneath is dark with age and oil and use, the color of something that has been maintained with attention for a long time. Someone cared for this cut. Ghost cared for it. He just couldn't fix it himself, and after my mother died, he couldn't bring himself to ask. Sparrow arrives at 10 with 2 coffees from the switchback and ties on her apron without comment. She glances at the cut, at my hands, at the tools laid out in my mother's order. She doesn't ask. The crafting table fills by 11. Chris with her tooling project, T-Bone with his perpetually crooked stitches, Glenda's grandson learning the trade, and Glenda herself, who settles into the chair across from me and watches me work for a full 5 minutes before she speaks. You opened it, she says. Not the cut, the drawer. I don't ask how she knows. Glenda was one of my mother's closest people, close enough to know the drawer existed, close enough to understand what opening it would mean. Yeah. She picks up a scrap of leather from the table and turns it in her hands, not working it, just holding it. June told me once that the drawer was for you. Not for me, not for Dolly, not for Deputy Navarro. For you, when you were ready. She sets the scrap down. Are you ready? I don't know. I opened it. That's the same thing. She watches me reset a patch on the shoulder. Your stitching is tighter than hers was. She'd have liked that. She always said her stitching was too loose on patches because she was impatient with repair work. Glenda picks up the scrap again. She preferred building things. You might be better at fixing them. She doesn't ask what was inside. She doesn't need to. She knows my mother well enough to know it would be thorough, organized, and heavy. My phone buzzes. An email notification. Ryder Haldane, sent at 4 a.m, from an account with no signature line. Sketch would be glad someone's still watching. Thank you for what you did. The Timberwolves went home, but Ryder hasn't stopped carrying it. I set the phone down and go back to the cut. The left shoulder patch is reset now, waxed linen pulled tight through new holes I punched with my mother's diamond chisel. I move to the side seam. Another buzz. Ghost. I'll be around if you need me. I look at the cut in my hands. His cut, left with my mother in July,
uncollected through her death and the 6 weeks of silence after. He trusted her with it. Now he's trusted me. I don't answer the text. I don't need to. The cut is the answer. Then the realtor. Just following up on the listing timeline. Any news? I type back without hesitation. Not selling. I'm staying. I just told the realtor I'm not selling, I say to the table.
Glenda doesn't look up from the scrap leather she's been worrying between her fingers. Good, she says, as if I've told her the weather. Sparrow looks up from the register. Goes still. You mean it? I mean it. She pulls up something on her phone. Good, because I already built us an Instagram. Ironside Leather Goods. I've got the logo, the grid layout, 30 photos I took last month. I was waiting for you to commit before I posted anything. She turns the screen toward me. The feed is beautiful. Warm tones, close-ups of leather grain, the crafting table in golden light. Diesel posed on the counter like he was born for the camera. Professional, intentional. Every image tells a story about craft and community and a shop that matters. Sparrow. I know. You're welcome. She's already back at the register. I'll post the first one tonight. Rally recap. Tag the vendors, the club, the craftspeople. Get the word out that we're here to stay. We're, not you're. She's claimed this too.
The October sun slants through the front window. The shop is warm. The table is full. Diesel is on my shoulder, surveying his domain. The locked drawer in the back office is open now, its secrets waiting to be read and understood, and eventually handed over to the people who need it. I finish the last seam on Ghost's cut and hold it up. The patches are tight. The side panels are solid. 20 years of wear, repaired at my mother's table, with my mother's tools, by a woman who is starting to understand what was left for her and why. I hang the cut on the hook by the door, where he'll see it when he comes in. And now, the real work begins.